It's Sports Blitz. It is BearcastMedia.com. Just a reminder that you are listening to Bearcast, coming to you live from the Jack and Jones Strader Studio, part of the electronic media division of the College-Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati. William Wolkoff along with Kevin Sakes on a slushy Sunday afternoon. We had Corie Blount on last year. He is in studio with us again here on Sports Blitz. As we all know, he former UC standout, played here from 91 to 93, helped the team reach the Final Four 92, Elite Eight in 93. Corie, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing good. A little brisky outside. I never thought I'd use that phrase coming from California, but I've been able to use that lately. It's brisky outside, so doing good.
Corie, we appreciate you coming on our show once again. It's always an honor to have you, and you're welcome in here anytime with us.
Appreciate it, man. It's good to be back. I had a nice time last time, so we'll duplicate it this time.
All right. So, Corie, UC is 20-9 this year, 11-5 in conference play. What are your general thoughts of the 2014-2015 Bearcats so far?
Well, any time you can win 20 games, that's an accomplishment, especially when you're playing D1 ball. So that's the first thing. We have to give them props just for being able to pull that off. 20 games in a season that's in a tough conference. You want at least to be a qualifier for the tournament. 20 games is a nice number. Also, what I see with this team, man, they're a young team, and Mick been saying that since the beginning, that they're a young team and they're trying to find their identity and nucleus. I was just looking, at their stats, and, it's rarely that you have a team that I think that win 20 games and nobody's averaging over 10 points. So that gives credit to the fact that they are competing, that everybody's involved. But, most teams, they usually have a guy that's averaging over 10 points, a star player or a go-to guy that they can rely on to get buckets. And I think that's with this team, being a young team, they're still trying to find their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, statistically, obviously, like you said, no one averaging over 10 points, which can be a good thing and a bad thing because, it's a good thing because everyone's getting the ball. But at the end of the day, someone's, we don't know who to go to in crunch time. But at the end of the day, you got to have someone who's making an impact. So to you, who on a night-to-night basis is making the biggest impact for this team?
Well, Copain, I think he's been the most consistent far as just having the will to want to get the ball and be that go-to guy. Copain, Cobb, I love Cobb. I think he's the guy who really he wants to be the Nick Van Exel of our team. He wants that shot. He wants to be the one that they rely on when they need a bucket. So I think those two guys are the two key players for them. But them being guards, that means they have to probably take more shots and raise their percentages to be successful in that role. So, those are the two guys that I think that is leading this team right now. I would love for one of the big guys to be able to take on that role. For myself being a big guy, I didn't lead our team in scoring, but the thing that I did well was I passed the ball, and I knew when to pass the ball to those guys to increase their percentages. So I think that's important for those guys to get more touches and be able to initiate offense through the big guys, and I think that'll help them out.
So your natural position was power forward back in the day. And this year we have a standout freshman power forward in Gary Clark out of Clayton High School in North Carolina, averaging around 8 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and about a steal and a block a game. And he's shooting 59% from the field. What do you think makes Gary Clark so good at such a young age?
I'm not familiar with the program he came from. But, you look at some players and you can say, wow, that guy's been coached before. He uses his body well. He scores in good positions. He don't never really force his shot to me when I've seen him play. So I think that's really what makes him a solid player, is that when he gets his minutes, he's efficient. He does what he needs to do on the block. He's a banger. He got a nice body, and he's got so much upside. So I think that's what the thing that really helps Gary Clark is that the fact that it looked like he's played and been well coached before. And you want to think that every kid or every player that comes to a D1 school has been a part of winning and been well coached. But it doesn't always work out like that because it's all about the system that individual player is put in or he's played in. So just watching Gary Clark, he just seemed like a real solid player, and he understands what he can do on the court.
What do you think has been the biggest statement game for UC so far?
Oh, definitely the San Diego game. I mean, I watched – that was one game I was lucky enough to see, and I thought that they played with a sense of purpose. Like, they knew that if we pull this game off, we've defined our identity. And I thought that they did that well that game. I mean, everybody competed. It was a tough game. You know, I was really amazed at the athletes that San Diego had, man. Them guys were just super athletic, but we competed. So I thought that would be a turning point for that team to really just gel and build from that. But like I said, being a young team, it's going to take more consistency for those type of wins to really be able to identify your style of play and who you are. So I would say that San Diego State game was, to me, one of the most important wins for them.
All right, let's go to some Twitter questions. This comes from @TheRealJoshF. He asks, what current Bearcat player has the most NBA potential? Can you see can you see any of them making a jump to the league?
Wow. That's a tough question. I mean, I'm looking at the upside. I would probably say Clark. You know, upside, I would even say the puzzle is Shaq, man. I think Shaq has so much damn talent. But it's like, I don't think his basketball IQ or his basketball mind frame believes that he can do the things that he
seems like he's putting it together a little bit more now, attacking the basket.
Yeah, but you got to look at the caliber of teams we've been playing with when he showed up. You know, I think just to give you an example, and the reason I'm throwing Shaq out there, when the season first started, I went in and watched the first practice. And I think Mick was kind of hinting at, you know, this is going to be a big year for Shaq. And when I went in there, man, this guy put on a show. I mean, I left that practice like, man, this is going to be Shaq's year right here, man. I mean, didn't miss a shot, was attacking the basket, blocking shots. I'm like, man, now this is going to be a good year for Shaq. And then now the season started. It's like he's still trying to – well, it was a point where he was kind of like trying to figure it out. So I would say Clark right now just because he has so much upside. As a freshman, the things that he's doing, I think that he would probably be I like Copain. I'm just trying to really define what position he would be at the next level. Cobb is definitely I like what he brings to the table. He's a little undersized, but, you know, size doesn't really determine whether you're an NBA player. It's just all about the opportunity and the position. So
another question here on Facebook. This comes from Garrett in Clifton. He asks, have you ever encountered a fan or fans that were absolutely excited to meet you, and what did they do to have such a lasting impact?
Man, that's a good question. I've ran into so many fans, but, you know, it's all you really appreciate the good ones, but you always remember the bad ones for some reason. You know, and I'm saying that because it's this one fan that I'll never forget, man. I was going through the airport, and he wanted me to sign something for 2 of his kids. But the lady at the gate said, you better get there or you're going to miss this flight. So I'm trying to get I'm trying to get through the terminal to get to my flight, and he's like, hey, you know, big fan of yours, Corie, could you sign this? And I'm like, man, I really wish I could, but right now I got to run. And then he just says, asshole. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, really?
And so I stopped, and it's like, well, do I respond to this or do I get to my gate? And I went to my gate, but, you know, from that one little incident, that guy has probably a feeling about me. Don't know me, you know, don't understand the pressure I was under to get to the plane, but now his interpretations of me as being an asshole because I didn't get a chance. And any other time, I've never refused to sign anything. I never thought I was that big of a star where I had the audacity to say, oh, I don't need to sign anything for you. I mean, I'd sign toilet paper, napkins. It didn't matter to me. But for that one fan, and he's always stood out to me like, you know, man, I wish I could find that guy and say, man, here's a jersey for your kids. Here's, you know, cards, whatever. But
so Fact or Fiction with Corie Blount is coming up next. Stay tuned. It's Sports Blitz. It's BearcatsMedia.com.